Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Congress is debating and considering voting on the next National Defense Authorization Act that will cost the American people $866 billion, I think this is a very important hearing today, and I thank you all for being here. I own a construction company, and my company is audited every single year. That's part of being able to do the jobs that we do. We have to account for everything that our business owns, all of our liabilities, all the way down to counting hammers and nails. So this was very alarming information to me as I found out that the Pentagon had failed its first ever independent financial audit in 2017, but more importantly, that the Department of Defense has failed every single audit since then, and I'm sure that alarms you as well. In November of 2022, the Department of Defense announced that it failed its most recent audit, unable to account for more than half of its assets. That is mind-boggling, especially for Americans that pay for all of this. After 1,600 auditors sifted through the Department of Defense's $3.5 trillion in assets and $3.7 trillion in liabilities, officials found that the DoD could not account for more than 61% of his assets is so alarming. What's particularly concerning to me in our NDAA, there is $300 million more dollars in the NDAA to go to Ukraine. Congress has already spent $113 billion for the Ukraine war. So on June 20th, 2023, when a Department of Defense spokesperson said that the DoD had been overestimating the value of U.S. assistance to Ukraine by nearly $6.2 billion over the fiscal year 2022 and 2023, that's really concerning. The spokesperson noted that military services used replacement cost rather than net book value in many cases, and this sum would subsequently go back into the pot of money allocated for the Presidential Drawdown Authority, PDA, for Ukraine. So I want to talk about accounting practices today. And I'm going to ask both of you, Mr. Tenagli, I apologize if I mispronounced that, and Mr. Mansfield. Basically, my estimation of what this means in simple terms for anyone watching this hearing is that at first, using the accounting practice, basically putting the net worth and the value of this equipment originally given to Ukraine, it was kind of like pricing it like a new car, and then changing its value by pricing it like a used car, and that's how $6.2 billion showed up. But yet, the American people have to resupply the military at a new car value, right? So that's a loss to the American people and the amount of money they're spending. Would you agree with me? And I'll go with each of you.
I'm told by the comptroller staff that the accounting error that they identified through an internal review informed the Congress of that, as you referred, does not have any fraud, waste, or abuse implications, and that accounting error has been rectified.
And how is that rectified? It's a loss to the American people, or it's actually just giving you, is it a loss to the American people, or is it giving Ukraine another $6.2 billion using accounting terms?
I don't believe it's another $6 billion. I believe it is a re-estimation of the value of that equipment.
Well, who is going to be paying for the $6.2 billion when we replace the military equipment for our military, for the defense of our country, not Ukraine, who some seem to think it's the 51st state, but actually the defense of the United States of America? Who's going to be filling in that $6.2 billion?
Again, I don't believe it's a matter of filling in the $6.2 billion, but the department will get you an answer to describe the impact of that error.
There's an impact for sure, and it's always made up in terms, but the American people pay for it. Mr. Mansfield, could you answer my question?
Yeah. First, I would say I appreciate your analogy. I think it's a good way of describing the situation as I understand it. In terms of who pays for the equipment that has gone to Ukraine, ultimately, that's the U.S. taxpayer.
Right. And then obviously, if they have to replace the $6.2 billion of equipment at a new car price versus what the change in accounting has been to a used car price, then it's the American people that pay the price again. Thank you so much for clarifying. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.